4. Roll call. Jerry Riggs.
Here.
Cam Castellano.
Here.
John Nash.
Here.
Frankie here. The mayor's not gonna be here, so bear with me. I'm the mayor tonight. Very great. Do our invocation to Pastor Jeff Duncan. Everybody stand for it.
Let's pray. Lord, we bow before you and thank you. Thank you for another day. Thank you for your mercies new this morning. Thank you for the freedoms that we still enjoy in this country and for this meeting and opportunity for you to work in this city. We just pray for you to help. We pray, we know your word tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So help these commissioners and these citizens to fear you, to reverence you, to honor you, to seek to glorify you. May decisions be discussed and made that will do just that, will honor you and will serve this city well. So we just commit this meeting into your hands and pray for your blessing on it. And thank you for the privilege of it. Bless these citizens and these commissioners as they meet and seek your will for the city. In Christ's name. Amen.
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 Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I wanted to thank everybody that came out to the Cedar Fest and made it a success this year. It really was. Thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. Has everybody had a chance to go over the agenda and consent agenda and any changes to it? During that, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda and consent agenda as written?
I move we adopt the agenda and consent agenda as written.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. On to 3, site plan review Guthrie Farm Plazas or villas, I'm sorry, Guthrie Farms Villas. 4 duplex buildings, 8 units located on parcel adjacent to Cedar Point Villas. Do y'all, Janelle, John, y'all have anything you want to say on that or? Maybe did you want to?
Sure, I can just briefly go over the project with you. Including your packet was the zoning permit application. It provides contact information there for the owners as well as their engineer, the applicant, Tidewater Associates. And this is a site plan review for 8 duplex units, 4 buildings, 2 units apiece. The entirety of the site plan detail was included in your project. This is not a subdivision of property, so these will all be jointly owned, which means from a truly technical standpoint, they'll be rented out like apartments. So they'll just be detached apartment buildings, if you will, all on one parcel. So since there is not a subdivision of land, there's not a recreational requirement under our ordinances. It only is triggered when there's a division of land for residential purposes. Since there's no subdivision, there's no requirement on this particular one. That was a question that we kind of looked at with the planning board, and since then have been able to reach that conclusion. There's still information that would have to be developed before the project could be finalized, state stormwater permits and septic come into the town and that sort of stuff. But this would go ahead and let them move forward with the zoning permitting and that sort of thing so they can start that process. I'm open to any questions that you might have. The Whites are both here as well as Jonathan on behalf of them from Tidewater, in case you have any questions specifically. The planning board did recommend approval unanimously. that's it in a nutshell. I will give you just, make sure everybody's on the same page and knows exactly where the project is gonna be located. Let me pull this screen over here. So here's the project. This is Cedar Point Boulevard. This is the roadway. Right here's Domino's Pizza. This is the road that goes down to Cedar Point Villas. It doesn't technically have a name, but there's a sign out there that says Cedar Point Villas out at the road. So this is the parcel, 2.18 acres, just south of the sewer treatment plant for Cedar Point Villas. For the location. Any questions, concerns, thoughts?
Commissioner Ray, I have a question. Right, you mentioned the drainage. I know they're applying for permits and all. I know that has always been an issue when we have storms. Can we just get some clarification what the plan is in the process? Because I know that has always been a very, very bad area for drainage. I'm just curious what the plan is.
Sure. So in a nutshell, for this site, drainage is planned just on-site infiltration, meeting the rules, but then there's also the factor of flood control for storms that are way above what the rules required. So there's a, you know, whether it's back in September, we had like terrible rain, but I was able to see both this site and then Cedar Point Villas Phase 3 under like the worst standing water conditions. So we're actively working with the HOA for Cedar Point Villas, along with a master plan to improve drainage for the whole area. That makes sense, because this one, when it overflows, it goes into Cedar Point Villas Phase 3.
That's right.
Which has already got some issues, but we're gonna fix that haircut.
Gotcha. That was my biggest concern was, you know, I just know that has always been here.
Yeah.
It has always been a big issue.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the Cedar Point Villas was developed in the mid-80s before Stillwater was went into effect in '88 and kind of a Wild West development. Didn't really need plans for certain things.
Well, and you can also see that when they laid out some of those buildings, when they constructed them, they kind of mounded up the dirt around the building somewhat, basically creating a dam from the natural flow of the ground down to the water. And I think part of that would be rerouting that around some of those buildings to get it down to the sound ultimately when it reaches a certain capacity.
Yeah, some options for improvements in the works for surveying a lot of the stuff on Cedar Point Villas for retrofit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I remember a few years back, they were pumping water out of waterway all the way across the road over there into the property on Bell Street. And it was going down through the ditch and around there, so.
Yeah, we actually, several years ago when that was taking place, Tyler was here. He and I went out there and looked at that. And it's actually right in this vicinity right here. You can see barely see a cut in the concrete right here. There's actually a outlet that was tied across the property line, pumping directly onto this property, which was then flowing downhill onto the White's property and then ultimately down to Cedar Point Villas. So we stopped them from pumping across the property line, but they're still now, last I saw last year or so, they were pumping it to the property line, not across it, but to it. So that's something I know that Jonathan's aware of and making plans to address as well. He and I actually went out there and looked at the spot there.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I guess we need a action to approve site plan review Guthrie Farm Plat Villas.
Suppose we approve the Guthrie Farm Villas as presented tonight.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Number 4, the preliminary subdivision plan approval, Cedar Point Villas, 650 Cedar Point Boulevard, phase 3.
All right. Again, this is another one, being submitted by Tidewater Associates on behalf of the owner, which in this case is DSS Incorporated. This is a preliminary plat, so this is a subdivision of property. Preliminary, meaning that the infrastructure is not already in place. This is the plan for development. This then authorizes them to move forward with infrastructure development towards obtaining their final plat, at which point they could record the subdivision itself and begin selling lots. This is part of a previously approved plan that dates all the way back to the 1990s, where phase 3 was initially started. So to put in context for you where we're located, the parcel we just spoke about is right here on Cedar Point Village Drive. And then just south of it, you see these 2 existing buildings. And this would be the expansion of 3 buildings on this 1.63 acre parcel. Now, the density on this project is greater than our current ordinances currently allow. However, they're designing these buildings, placing them, and I would say almost the exact same location. There are some minor changes, and I'll mention that in a minute. But the exact same layout, same design, same parking arrangement as far as the circle, as was previously approved by this board. That being the case, it's being treated as having vested rights to continue development. In North Carolina, if you have a common plan for development of a huge development and you develop it in phases, at some point you have invested enough money to continue with your plan of development. Cedar Point Villas has certainly fulfilled that requirement by having multiple buildings 3 stories high all the way through. This is actually the last phase in that plan. So the differences from what you see here and what was originally approved back in the 90s is that in order to meet the town's current setback requirements, this building here, which is building H, and the one here at the top of the screen, building G, have been pushed in a little bit in order to give a 25-foot main building setback line. So they're pushed in a little closer, further away from the property lines to meet our current standards. That has resulted in the loss of a couple parking spaces from what was originally platted. But as far as the building designs, it will be uniform with the existing buildings, same layout, same approval of what took place in the 1990s. Looking at it further, you have all the details of what's going to be removed on this sheet. And then, of course, the new construction being shown, new parking spaces all the way around the 3 new buildings, new walkway to connect here. New drainage chute here for stormwater, relocated dumpster, and some other changes there to meet the previous plan. This next sheet shows the flow of the stormwater on the property, as well as the infrastructure for the stormwater. So you see some basins, and then let me zoom in. Is that? I believe that's an outlet. Yeah. That's the outlet into this infiltration basin. And this is, and Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, this would be where it would be taking inflow from the overflow of the white property. So that stormwater that's coming across, if there's anything that exceeds the stormwater system for that site, it would then be directed into this inlet here and be piped over to this basin that you see on the right-hand side. I had Jonathan, in response to some questions raised by our planning board, I had Jonathan go back and do an analysis of the recreational requirements for this project. The entirety of Cedar Point Villas is about 10 acres. And roughly 2 acres of that is already set aside for recreation. Their waterfront parking area, their pool area that you see here off the right-hand side of the screen. And so the entirety of that project already more than doubles what our requirement is. So there's no need to require additional recreational facilities as part of this little project. You'll see this one right here actually shows the division of where the property lines would be. With these being townhouses, keep in mind that there is a 0 lot line. So the property line straddles the common wall between 2 units. On a townhouse. So you have the individual townhouse lots, and then you have the rest of it being common area for the residents there. And that's about it. Kind of an overview. Open to any questions, of course, and Jonathan again can answer any technical questions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan for approval for Cedar Point Villas.
Motion on the floor, all in favor, say aye. Down. So it's discussion concerning bank change. David?
So for a number of years, the town of Cedar Point has used Truist, previously BB&T, for the town's primary banking needs. In the 5 years that I've been here, we've had various issues here and there, nothing really too concerning until back around July 1st. We had an issue that took place that has caused some concern both by myself and Jane and Alicia, but not only concern, but a lot of headache and heartache. And as a result of that, I'll tell you what that is in a minute, but as a result of that, we are suggesting that the town consider finding a new bank to deal with. We do have, I've spoken previously with First Citizens Bank. They've put together a proposal for us. Upon hearing our frustrations with Truist, I've had another banker from Providence Bank reach out and say they'd like to put together a proposal for us. Can't give a whole lot of details about it, but Providence Bank is looking at possibly moving and opening a branch in Cedar Point at the moment. So they would be very interested in serving our needs as well. But so what happened July 1st, well, when it comes to town staff, myself and the board are paid monthly. The remainder of the town staff are paid bi-weekly. As you know, our fiscal year ends at the end of June, start of the year, July 1st. The board and myself gets paid on the 1st of the month or shortly thereafter. Jane had scheduled our payment for July 2nd, I believe it was, this year, but she scheduled it, I think, on June 28th. Well, rather than paying us when they were supposed to under the online system that we have, Truist paid all of us on June 28th. You may actually have seen, except for Jerry, you weren't here at the time. You may have actually seen Truist paid us twice.
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that on yours. They did mine, which was quite shocking. And I was actually on the road at the time on the 28th, I think it was. And I called Jane and I was, kind of in a tizzy because that's the end of our fiscal year.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the year, I'm keeping all the numbers tight to make sure that we're not going over budget, because if we go over budget, then we have an auditing issue that we have to address with the state. It got paid on June 28th. even though we had specifically scheduled it for payment after July 1st. So we weren't sure at the time, was that just something that, Truist, put the money into the accounts but hadn't drafted the town's account or not? So we had already laid everything out as far as our IRS forms, the 941s that we have to do quarterly, monthly and quarterly. Our state unemployment taxes, state taxes, all that stuff was laid out, assuming that we would be paid after July 1st like we should have been. As a result of that, Truist paying early, and we can show you the documentation where it has the order that Jane said pay it on after, I think, July 1st or July 2nd. We had to spend some time with the auditors getting everything straightened out, go back and backdate everything in our accounting software. I spent probably 4.5 hours on the phone with the IRS trying to get everything straightened out. And all they could say was sorry. This shouldn't have happened, but sorry. No, nothing really they could do about it. And to me, that's number one, that's poor service. Two, it's concerning that you make an arrangement to have payment on a certain day and they don't honor it. So all those things adding up is the basis for our suggestion to look at another bank. Now, I haven't had a chance here with Cedar Fest going on to see if there's any specific process that we need to follow as far as any kind of hearing or RFP or anything like that to change banks. But I wanted to go ahead and call that to your attention and kind of get your feedback to see if the board would be supportive of a transition or if you think we should stay where we are. But that's kind of the underlying basis for it. And Jane's also on the Zoom call if you have any questions for her about it.
Could go ahead, David.
Or do you need anything like a motion or at least a statement of approval for you to go ahead and do it?
No, just if you're not interested in changing, then just let me know and I just won't spend my time on it. But as long as the board's supportive of it, then I'll go ahead and figure out whatever process that is and get it started.
I think, just my own experience and the experience of others, Truist customer service has really gone downhill in the past, 24 months. So I would have urged you to move it anyway, but certainly if we have a couple prospective suitors, I think it's something we should look at.
I mean, you guys have to deal with these folks on a weekly, monthly, sometimes daily basis. And if they're not providing the customer service that we need, then feel free.
Yeah, I don't deal with them. We don't as a board, so we don't.
Yeah,
you
it's not
do.
us, it's you guys, so.
But I was just wondering if it was possibly just one individual at the bank, maybe that they recommended them or just didn't want
That was
to.
the back office score.
It's set up electronically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Our payroll.
something, and it might be then or earlier.
I mean, we pay for their payroll service.
Yes.
Where you go in and say, okay, on this day, pay this amount to this account. And they all get, set up like that.
And I don't suppose they were interested in
I'm good.
refunding us for that month.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever you want, your decision. You like Pam said, you and Jane, y'all deal with us more than we, or any of the banks more than we do. We don't have to deal with them on.
I like the local idea,
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
the local idea,
Local
Yeah,
idea.
I do too.
our citizens personally.
First citizens.
Because they're here.
If Providence comes into the area, then that's fine too, but that's gonna be a while, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be an issue for you, how soon you wanna do it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
How hard is it to change?
So what we would
On
do, we
deals.
would go ahead and set up a new account. Transfer the bulk of what we have over to that account, start making payments out of it, leave the old one open for a while.
Yeah.
To make sure we don't have any rogue payments coming in that we're unaware of. And then after a period of time with no activity, then go ahead and close that one down.
I bank with First Citizens and our company does. Banks with First Citizens. We're pleased with them too, so.
I think it's whatever is good for you and Jane to be comfortable and because you're the ones that having to deal with it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and having that connection is important. I would recommend, I know this might be out of content, but state employees being a local municipality, I know it's another
So we
county
can't-
over, you can't, okay.
No, municipalities cannot use credit unions in North Carolina. They have to be banks. They're actually regulated differently.
Okay.
Their insurance
All right.
on the investments is different. So we're not.
So
allowed
it's
to-
for the Cedar Point account, you couldn't use it, but you can for your employees though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
All of the town employees have the ability to
Okay.
use the,
Yeah,
it's
that's,
actually the local government
gotcha.
employees.
That's what I've done. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I was like, that's a,
Yeah, but as far as town funds, they cannot be invested or saved deposited into a credit union.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
I knew.
yeah, I didn't either. I mean, I've always been with the city boys.
Yeah.
So I just figured it'd be, because they're
Yeah,
always
that's-
supporting of the local municipalities, so. that's good.
I've maintained accounts at First Citizen since I was 10 years old. I used to work for BB&T for a little while, and I have a couple accounts at the local government federal credit union. So, Truist is not what BB&T was,
No, it's not.
unfortunately. Just so you know, not that this should weigh into your decision, but First Citizens really cares about community outreach type events too. They were a lot more generous with Cedar Fest donations
go.
and have been, even though we've never even been a client of theirs.
There you go.
Not that it should weigh into your decision making, but it does show a company that is interested in local affairs.
David, do you want to wait and see if Providence does give you a business proposal, or do you just want to go ahead with First Citizens?
Well, actually, I spoke with somebody at Providence on Saturday at Cedar Fest, and that's when she basically said, "Hey, let me put something together for you." So, I don't think it hurts anything at that point. We can then compare apples to apples and then figure out, is it worth the wait or not?
Okay.
I mean, I would say either one of those two banks, one being in Cedar Point at that point and one being right across the line in Cape Carteret, makes no difference.
Still local.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yours and Jane's decision.
Okay, and if there's some sort of process that we need to follow, of course, we'll set that up for next month. If not, then we would actually need some formal action before we open an account.
Yeah.
Set it up with the same signatories that we currently have.
I assume that it may not be the most convenient, but you could theoretically go with Providence before they actually built a branch in Cedar Point. Because most of our stuff is electronic, correct?
Yeah, the vast majority of it is electronic. I mean, we do have some activity that we would have to occasionally make a drive for. If that were the case, we would probably have to amend our cash holding threshold to basically say we can hold it for a longer period of time before it has to be deposited. So we're not having to make so many frequent runs if they're not in Cedar Point at that point. But
Are they within the region right now, or would this be their first?
I know they have one in Jacksonville.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know. I think
not ideal, but workable.
I think they might also have one in Moorhead already. But
Okay.
yeah, they have one in Moorhead City.
Okay.
Well, then we'll start that discussion with Providence and figure out the process going forward.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Deputy, what you got?
Good evening. It's been a steady month. As you can tell, traffic is still here, but I think a lot of people are starting to get that word that there's radar now on 24th. So it's a little different than just giving verbal warnings. We stopped over 76 cars between the month period, I believe, and most of those were warnings. Some of them were actually 15 over, and they held pink copies for that. I picked up 5 different cases within the town dealing with fraudulent claims and frauds of the elderly people. So I picked those up. Other than that, whatever I've told the town manager, it's it's been a steady month for us here at Cedar Point.
Good.
Sure.
We're good.
When,
Thanks for. All right.
you wanna tell them about, the time you called me and asked me to check the camera? Out there at the park?
Oh, yes, we've gotten numerous complaints about park having drug dealings late at night. So I've been switching my shifts to work night shifts. I've actually went out there. It was during the day, I noticed some individuals walking the tree line. 2 motorcycles came in, 2 cars were there. They were walking the tree line, and when they saw me, one guy physically was nervous. So I pulled out and waited for the motorcycles. They came out about 10 minutes later, but the car I wanted, I called the town manager and asked him if he could tell me on the camera if the car was still there. And he was able to tell me the car was stationary still. So I waited for the car. The car came out, the tags were expired, which was probable cause to stop the car. Talked to both individuals. The male individual I saw by the tree line, I asked him straight up, "Where's the drugs?" And I said, "I got a dog on the way." So it's probably beneficial for you to be honest with me. He turned up some wax marijuana that he had on him, but I also believe there was a deal that took place. So I had to make a choice, 2 motorcycles or the car. I took the car because I knew the motorcycle could be in pursuit, and you're not gonna catch motorcycles. It's too dangerous for the public. So they're getting the idea now that I'm coming out at nighttime. During the day, I'm getting out there talking to people now. We're making a bigger impact. There's not so many people out there. And they shouldn't be out there.
Good.
Good.
Good job.
But
Thank you.
the presence of the camera was useful in that situation to help them identify. Is it worthwhile to stick around and wait?
I bet that's about a workout Saturday.
So Saturday, speaking of that, usually on the camera, it shows me a little tick mark for every time the camera records something throughout the day on like a calendar, time frame. And so from 6 o'clock in the morning until about 11 o'clock, it's just one big blue block. And then at 11 o'clock, it goes out because our battery died. It was recording so much. And then it picks back up at like 4 o'clock for another hour and a half or so, and then it dies again. And it's kind of funny to see on the screen. But yeah, it did a lot of recording.
All right, David, you're up. Manager's report.
So I guess the big thing to talk about is Cedar Fest. It was in my opinion, a phenomenal success. Everything we heard from all but one vendor was very positive. I had one vendor that said he only made 3 sales that day and was a little disappointed, but beyond that, everybody that I've spoken to has had nothing but good words to say. Like the layout, the flow, very impressed with our parking volunteers, the way they were able to get them in and out, get them parked. The way the vendors, one of the ladies came up to me and she said, I knew the guy came over and said, could he help me unload my vehicle at 6 o'clock in the morning? And then you provided a shuttle to me. And then when I got back, somebody had set up my tent for me. She said, I wasn't expecting that. And she said, y'all really go above and beyond for your vendors. So she was very appreciative. She said, you're not going to get that service anywhere else. I can tell you that. So that was very good to hear. Our staff put in a lot of hours getting ready for it. Public Works guys were out there with me, lining stuff out on the fields, and we traipsed back and forth at I don't know how many times. And of course, Jane and Alicia. Alicia spent a lot of time lining up all the marketing for us and coordinating the volunteers and the t-shirts and all that sort of stuff. So really, really good job all around by everybody. No major incidents. This year we didn't have any buses stuck. We didn't have anyone breaking an arm. And we had a lot of very good volunteers, including our very own Commissioner-elect, who was out there all day long with us. So, and the committee that this year that helped put it all together did a phenomenal job. The music, everything just came together. very well pleased with everything. That's really been the focus this past month. Pretty much, I'm trying to get dug out, from spending so much time on it. But I do appreciate the board, this past month letting me, I had a funeral to attend, in Virginia, so taking the time to go up there for that, in the midst of all the craziness. That's it. I didn't have a whole lot of notes for tonight.
Somebody mark this day on your calendar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, right.
So, Jane, can you hear us? You got anything?
Hello, everybody. Greetings from Illinois. Can you hear me?
Very well. We can see.
I just wanted to confirm that trick or treating would be Thursday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. That seems to be what all the other towns are observing. And I'll put that out publicly on the social medias.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's all you got?
That's it.
All righty. All right, got public comment? Anybody? Say anything?
You want to introduce yourself? You're here yes. What's your name?
Hayden.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Why are you here?
I'm working on America, so I attended the city council.
Very good.
Have
Yes.
you learned anything?
Just comments. Yeah, you learn anything? Yeah. This is the public comment portion, so this is live action. I just wanted to give you feedback. I loved volunteering with you all at City Fest. It was a great environment. Appreciate you all embracing me. Everybody that I got feedback, because I took a lot of vendors back, I took lots of people back to their cars, as you did, Pam. Lots of great feedback. Think of anything that could be improved except for the late day parking, because they started going
nuts, so.
they started going rogue on us. So probably a couple more people on late day parking. And if we can get on the Marine Corps schedule, we would love to have their band. But my sister wanted me to make sure she came, her words were spoken, best festival around. So.
Excellent.
I'm interested in what's going on in the hospital lot over on Highway 24. It looks like it's really cleared. And it looks like it's really ready for building. So I'm just curious about that. And feedback from First Citizens. We too use at the VFW First Citizens, and I've had nothing but great customer service from them. You create relationships with them, as I'm sure you do, Gary. So I don't know anything about Providence, but I do know firsthand with First Citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your help.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
To answer a couple of the questions or comments raised, the Marine band, the second Marine Air Wing band, was invited. They had some pre-existing commitments. They've been there the last 2 years with us. And so I guess they decided to share the wealth this year.
They're ahead.
They really are.
Okay.
We really missed them this past year. They were really great.
Division band.
I hope they do it again. I hope they do it next year.
Yeah, at that point, it's
Too late?
kind of late.
If we could ask both of them though. And then let the best band.
Well, hopefully.
Have a band off.
Hey, you know what you were talking about the late day parking? I think a lot of us about 3 o'clock just quit and said, hey, that parking will fix itself.
Yeah.
And we found out that it didn't. I mean,
Right,
because I went
you
back in there,
started parking in weird spots.
people were parking in weird spots. I'm thinking, don't you people know how to drive and park?
Can you not see how these are lined
Yeah, I
up?
figured it was self-explanatory at that point, but it wasn't,
We
obviously.
made some assumptions.
Yeah, so next year we're gonna quit at 4 o'clock instead of 3. Let's see how the next hour goes.
Oh my goodness.
The other part of that was a question about the hospital property. The hospital is continuing to clear that property. Before they can do any development of it, they do have to come back to the town with a commercial site plan process.
So that hadn't happened?
That's not.
Okay, I was just
So
curious.
that'll go through our planning board and then board of commissioners.
It's really clean right now, so I was just curious
Yeah.
what stage we were in, but no more stage.
No stage.
No, that's it. I have had conversations with some of their architects and engineers, asking questions about our ordinance provisions. Trying to create a plan that matches, our ordinances. So they're actively pursuing a project, but they're not ready to break ground on anything yet.
Okay.
Looks like they might need to bring a little dirt in there.
Yeah, it's low.
It's low in there.
And I meant to, in my discussion about Cedar Fest, show some pictures. So if I can do that now.
Yeah, go ahead. You'd love to.
I forgot I had pulled up this folder.
Any pictures of the white stuff?
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Of the
Them snatching the kids out of there.
Next to the kids out of
Yeah,
there.
the fire extinguisher went off.
So we did have the fire extinguisher on this piece of equipment go off about 3:30. Scared some kids. The Marines were kind of pitching them off the thing because they didn't know what it was either at first.
I didn't know that.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So I got a call about 3:30. I was finally sat down to get a bite to eat, and I took one bite when my phone rang, and it was the gentleman in charge of the group here, and he said, "So I want to make you aware of a little incident that took place," and I'm like, "Uh oh," that's never a good way to start a conversation. But all the kids were fine. They were a little shook up, a little scared because number one, he said it was loud when it went off, and then two, next thing they know is these Marines are just throwing them off, the equipment, and but he met with all the parents. All the kids were fine. One kid got a little powder in his hair from the fire extinguisher. He kind of brushed it off.
Shake it off.
But they were all good. Certainly an experience that I'll never forget. But they wound up having to take that out of service at 3:30 and put it back on the trailer. Which, speaking of trailer, that's what the trailer looked like for those of you that weren't out there. And I had specifically asked them, if you're going to bring in a trailer like you did the previous year, let me know so I can find a place to park it. And they showed up at 6:30 with that. But we got it parked. It was all good. There's Will and Tony show over on stage 2. The fossil dig was a hit all day long. Kids were all over that thing from the time it opened to the end of the day. One of the vendors had his kid there, and Jane said that kid stayed at the dig pit all day long playing in it. Didn't want to do anything else. Didn't care about petting zoo, bunny rides, anything else of the dig pit. It actually got taken back up earlier today. It was provided by Crystal Coast Marine Contracting. They brought it all in, including the 8x8s, and they cleaned it all back up for us at no charge. The only thing we were provided was the filler material that we stuck in there for the kids to dig.
Did anybody find the conch shell?
No, not that I know of. I mean, Justin's guys might have this afternoon,
I
but
found that, Jane. No, I'm just kidding.
there's some pictures of the crowds, inflatables. It was a picnic area. Several times when I walked through there, every single picnic table was full with people sitting on them. So, Donnie Lane, another kid with a helmet having a good time.
Oh, cool job.
Oh, that's a good job.
Flotilla guy.
You got a good one in the parking lot too. You were showing me earlier.
Yeah, I'll show you that one.
Showing the whole thing, parking lot and vendors.
Petting zoo, pony rides.
Have you guys thought about putting the baby pit out there all the time?
We can't where it was. We might put something like that at the front of the park.
Yeah.
There's some regulations due to the grant that we received to help buy the park.
Okay,
It's in a conservation easement that wouldn't allow something like that.
gotcha. That would be another cool thing to bring into the park.
Yeah, we in fact, when I talked to Justin yesterday with Crystal Coast Marine Contracting, I told him we got to get that up as soon as possible so it doesn't even damage kill the grass that was under it. They're so particular.
It was a big hit.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, Jane,
I don't know if you guys have ever gone to Aurora, but it all comes out of Aurora. And they have
Well,
it's there, it's so fun.
It used to come out of Aurora.
Oh,
Aurora no longer provides it.
Really?
No, we try to get it from Aurora. This did have some natural shell in it, but then we had to supplement it. So you can see all, everybody had a good time. So there's,
Yeah, that's great.
Got a lot of cars in there.
Look at them rows,
Yeah.
boy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
See that little spot down there, that's Midway down there. Number one.
Can you all put these on the town website? In a kind of a, what do you call
yeah, we'll put them on the website,
it?
like a slideshow.
Yes, I should.
All right, so I got a couple videos at the end. Here we go. Where's the drawing? Oh.
Met a guy with a newspaper that was putting a drone up too. Great. But this is coming from the kayak launch.
Yeah.
All the way back. Okay. Yeah.
Give that to the Dodge people next year.
I'm sorry?
Give that to the Dodge people. It's a perfect commercial.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, it
That was a
is.
Dodge West,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
as
it
long as they can get one that actually can drive all the way to its staging position.
Give it to-
There's a story behind it. You know, the truck broke down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it to WCTI. They'll put that on the news a week before.
Yeah,
I mean, they do Mum Fest and Seafood Fest and everything else.
So my buddy, 2 years ago when he put his drone up for us, he went up the road and got all the parking showing all the way along the road. This year he didn't do that. He just cut through the vendor parking area here. But the whole road was filled all the way up. As you'll see at the front parking lot in just a second. You can get you a little view of the intercoastal in the background,
That's neat.
Octagon House off to the right. So you can see the cars still falling in. One right after another. And then we go the other direction, so you get the water view on this one. Yeah, I can hear somebody narrating a commercial here.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this video, we're very fortunate to have this piece of property.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'd like to see is clear this up in a little bit, open it up. You don't have to tear it down all the way, you just keep it in the ground. Can't you just cut it at the bottom?
Or conservation easement.
Yeah, you can get around that.
I don't know how many drivers heard, but there were a lot of first time, never knew about Cedar Point customers this time. Never knew about the park, very excited about the park. So if we could do some advertisement, I mean, even just about the park, I don't know if you want to or not, but lots of people didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, so every Tuesday on Facebook, Jane puts out our trail talk.
Yeah.
Tuesday, just the new information about the park, about
Okay,
the wildlife out there, the plants, you name it.
That's pretty.
okay, so we need to share that.
Yep.
How was the kayak?
I'm like
Did they
you
cut
there,
it?
Barry, and I talked to a lot of people that don't know anything. Where?
Yeah.
You have a park where?
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
all
many
about it.
people.
And
Or even
know
the Cedar
about it.
Fest, they know nothing about the Cedar Fest.
And
That's-
for Brad.
Yeah, and I said, it's not as big as the Seafood Festival or the Mum Fest or anything, but it's well organized. And it's really put together and you'll have a great time. And everybody, like you said, I've had great feedback on it.
Location just
Oh,
can't be.
No, I think they.
Mary Ann, that's also something you can tell
Everybody
us
said
the
they
county.
would Be the road.
County has a tourism office, don't they? Different things.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They need to pay more attention to Western Colorado.
Okay,
Definitely.
Yeah.
don't get short-chected.
All right, well, that
That was
was.
cool.
All right. The reason I said to Jane earlier, I found the conch shells, because I told her, I said. She said, you put a conch shell in. I said, I'm going looking for the conch shell. She said, you stay out of my fossil dig. Okay, I was talking with her about that, so. But, well, board comments, Jerry, you got? anything?
Great job, David, staff, you know, board, commissioners as well. Thank you for helping out as well, Miss Mary Ann. I think it was a great, once again, great festival. I think we can't say enough about it. I would recommend one thing, David, on the parking, use white paint, not orange paint. So these people can see it at 7 o'clock in the morning, because we're telling them, come to the line. They can't see that line. That white paint make a big difference. I would like to get some follow-up on, I've been hit by this Cedar Point Grill, just to kind of get a little update, you know, where we are with that. I know that there was some stuff going on and then it just kind of stopped. Also, I was in a meeting yesterday. There's some money still available with the Carter County Ditch Project. Yep. Make sure if we have something to get up with, you know, Chris Johnson and go from there. And then she asked about the hospital lot. Appreciate that. And that's it. A great job with the staff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'm actually having conversations about the ditch project. Got an email earlier today
Perfect.
about that, so.
I was in a meeting yesterday and I brought up.
We were beneficiaries of that grant project earlier this year that already cleaned out a lot of our ditches, if you'll remember, back behind the gym, over here in Marsh Harbor. I raised the question earlier today. We do know that there's some need to regrade the ditching towards the end of Bell Street. And have asked whether or not this grant would include that sort of work. And the response was get together some details for us on exactly what it would take, and they'll take a look at it. So we're gonna see if this will qualify underneath that program.
Let's use it if we can. It's good.
We previously received a estimate to do the work of about $14,000 to have all that cleared out.
Good.
So if we can get that done under that grant, it'd be a big win. Yeah, the white paint, we had already painted the vendor spaces white
I got you.
because they need to see that first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's why they did white.
Did you run out?
Well, then we'd have vendors setting up in the parking spaces and people parking in the vendor spaces.
Use blue.
So we were using a variety of colors for different things, and it just so happened that one wound up.
We can make
orange.
them yellow, bright yellow.
Yeah, we had yellow. Yellow doesn't show up very well.
It doesn't?
Either on green grass.
Whatever.
It does good on parking lots, but not.
Once I finally realized that there were lines there, I saw, okay, that's like a parking lot. It actually works, but you can't see it.
Right.
What was the other?
The other one, the Cedar Point Grill.
Oh,
Just to get a little follow up there.
so that property was purchased by Paul Musco with the intention of opening it as the Compass Restaurant. He still has those intentions. When he came and spoke with us several months ago, it was still within the 180 days from when the previous CP's Grill was there, which at the time he said he wasn't going to do anything outside of the footprint of the existing building, which meant there was no need to have a zoning permit. There would be no change of use and no expansion of the building or the property itself. And so no zoning permit would have been required under our ordinances. We sent that notification to the county. They issued building permits for him to begin work on the inside of the building. He has subsequently started doing some construction on the outside of the building. We have issued a stop work order. Well, we've told him to stop. We didn't actually issue a formal letter. But the county had, under their building permit, they issued a stop work order. So at this point, he cannot move forward with his development outside of the footprint of the existing building until he gets his zoning permit taken care of and his building permit. We had told him months ago that if he wanted to do anything outside the footprint of the building, it would have to go through the commercial site plan process, which means it has to come through our planning board and ultimately this board of commissioners. So he's kind of at a standstill at the moment, because he's now missed the deadline to get on the planning board agenda for this next month. So I don't know if he'll be removing what's there or if it's just going to sit at a standstill for a while until he gets that brought into compliance. But that's kind of where we are on that project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Give up 10 grand and do something on 2 grand.
Pam?
I echo Jerry's comments about the staff and the committee and all the people that put time and effort and heart and love into the Cedar Fest. It was really a great day. It was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed speaking with our staff members. I hadn't met Kurt yet, and I got to talk to him quite a bit. That was nice. So, great job, everyone.
Really nothing. I did see on the news tonight that the highway patrol is re-emphasizing school bus safety and so forth. Apparently there have been some accidents in the area, so they're trying to, I guess maybe they will do some additional enforcement, or they'll ask you to do some additional enforcement. Again, congratulations on Cedar Fest. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Well, I'll say the same thing. I appreciate everybody's efforts in putting this on. It takes a lot of people. You can't imagine what we start doing this stuff this week for next year. So I appreciate all that. That's about all I got. Get out and vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please vote if you can.
Good point, Frank.
November. That's it.
Okay. All right, our next regular scheduled meeting held Tuesday, November 26th, 2024, 6:30. Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Everybody give Gary a round of applause for his first time being mayor.
You don't.
You get it, man.
David, open that